following show contains adult content. It's not our intent to offend anyone, but we want to inform you that if you are a child under the age of 18 or get offended easily, this next show may not be for you. The content, opinions, and subject matter of these shows are solely the choice of your show hosts and their guests, and not those of the Entertainment Network or any affiliated stations. Any comments or inquiries should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for listening.
Hey everyone, and welcome to 50 Shades of Bullshit. I'm your host, Christine Lalonde, and this is the podcast where we uncover the truth about online dating. Now let's begin.
Hey, it's Gabby and Christine. Actually, it's 50 Shades of Bullshit, and I'm Christine, your host.
And I'm Gabby, your co-host.
And I barely made it to the show.
Do you love that I raised the roof? Like, let's age myself right now.
No, you look good. I like the hair flip.
I raised it because it was so heavy.
I was in the ER for the last 3 hours today.
What?
Yeah, I've had this cold or this sinus infection for 3.5 weeks. I woke up this morning feeling like I was dying. So if I'm sneezing and coughing and runny nose during the show, forgive me. But I literally flew in the door, put on my headset, and sat down because it was crazy time.
Well, we're happy to have you here and an all-in-one piece.
I know. We're happy to have you. You've been gone.
Yes.
You've been not feeling so well either.
Yeah, but I'm here. I'm ready to go. Excited to be back.
Yeah.
I know that you've had some co-hosts. The shows have been amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, everybody's been great.
So I'm excited to see what we've got on the agenda today.
Well, it's we normally talk about our dating life. Jessica, you're so sweet. Thank you. Jessica's coming on the show. She's going to talk about some crazy dating stories. We can't wait to have her.
I love crazy dating stories. It makes me feel like I have a normal dating life when I hear other people's crazy experiences, because I know it's not just me.
Yeah. Well, today we're talking about sexy, sassy, and starting over. And it's funny because I feel like I'm always starting over.
You are seriously my own personal phoenix. I truly believe that you rise over and over again.
I rise.
You rise.
After my divorce, I didn't feel so sexy and I didn't feel so sassy. But nowadays I've got my sass back. I feel like I got my sexy groove on. Can't you tell from the bags and the red nose? But, starting over can mean many different things. I think today it's really about, starting over from a love lost or a divorce or a long-term relationship that has ran its course. So that'll be fun.
True.
Yeah.
That is so true. I mean, starting over, it can be on so many levels, and it takes a lot of strength and quite honestly, courage to kind of get yourself out of that rut. And that negative self-talk can get so loud.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like my light is blinding today.
No, you look fantastic. You look fantastic. I look like a mugshot, but it's fine. It's no big deal. We're here. We're just living.
How's dating for you these days?
Good. I've been with one person for a few months now. Got one boy. It'll be 4 months soon.
Yeah.
And I haven't wanted to find someone else. So,
I know. How long has it been since you've been in a relationship for about 4 months?
God, it's been a while. I usually get I get over people very quickly. Like they have those, the blinders come off, the honeymoon period or the smoke and mirrors, dissipate. And then I'm just on to the next, especially with dating sites nowadays. It's I can see what else, is out there. So I don't really, especially I think I being in my mid to late 30s now, I'm not going to deal with bullshit, and I know my worth and I know what I deserve, and I just go move on. So
yeah.
Usually month and a half of dating someone, I'm keep or stay. So, so far, I mean, I've been on the straight keep track. He's been fantastic.
I like him.
I'm so happy you do.
Yeah, I like him. He's been a keeper. We got a little bit of feedback. Can you maybe turn your volume down just a tiny bit, Gabby?
I will figure how to do that.
All right.
How about that? Is that better?
That might. Oh yeah, that's better. So, I've talked about my last couple horrific dates, the last couple episodes, so I'm like done.
You have some for the record books, girl.
I do. Well, I want to, introduce our guest today because this is going to be fun. Karen is a joy. Karen is the author of Sexy, Sassy, and Starting Over. She's a relationship and intimacy coach. And her key, let's see, I can't read. Let's try this again. She teaches the keys to confidence from the bedroom to the boardroom. So she's all across the board. She inspires her clients to create their lives congruent with their deepest needs and desires. I like that. Her communication style is bold and edgy. Girlfriend, Karen is bold and edgy, and she seeks to empower both men and women to be their authentic, unadulterated selves. She integrates her foundation as a credentialed. Oh, I can't say the word. She'll have to tell us. She has been teaching over 3 decades, studying personal development, including tantra, intimacy, sexuality, and dynamics between men and women. Decades providing image makeovers, relationship coaching for men and women to serve her clients. She's very passionate. She's very genuine. Let's bring on Karen Solomon.
Yay!
Karen.
Hey, ladies. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me? Great.
Yeah, you're great.
The word is credentialed.
Thank you. I couldn't say it. There's some days.
I've always been I've always been a teacher ever since I was 3 years old, and I learned how to tie my shoes because yes, I'm old enough that there was no Velcro. So I actually learned how to tie my shoes, and I thought this is a really useful thing to know. And I tried to show my little sister, who was only about 1, how to do it. It didn't go over so well, but that's my earliest memory of teaching someone what I know.
I love it. So Karen, tell us really in your words, what is it that you, or how did you get into the business of coaching and getting people on the right track for dating?
Well, it started with, when I say I was a teacher, I've always wanted to teach people what I know. Okay. And so back, when I was a school teacher, I'm back east and I migrated west in a Thelma and Louise, if for those of you who've seen the movie, experience with a girlfriend for a few months that ended much better than Thelma and Louise's going off a cliff. But I came to California and I started doing a lot of personal development work in my 20s. And then exactly 31 years ago now, a friend of mine asked me to be his +1. Now I'd been taking all kinds of, spiritual things and the Landmark Forum and all kinds of personal development stuff. But a friend of mine said, would you come to an event tonight with me? I can't go unless I bring a +1. It's called Tantra Intimacy. And I was like, what's that mean? And he said, well, it's not a sexual thing. It's going to be fully clothed, but they just want it to be gender balanced. Okay. I said, sure, I'm always interested. So I found myself in a room with about, 15 men, 15 women, some couples, but mostly just gender balanced like we were. I went with Bob, who was a gigantic 6'5" friend. And I'm 5'6", so that's big enough, right? Anyway, fast forward, the evening was about intimacy in a way that I'd never known before. I had the 70s. I am definitely dating myself now. And, way before all the STDs were the biggest fear and everything, but it was like, but having sex with someone wasn't necessarily the most intimate thing in the world. It was you turned off the lights and you did your thing. But all of a sudden the lights were on and I'm standing a little closer than handshake distance. Right? And I'm looking at Bob going, whoa, there was no place to hide, right? There was no place to hide. And there were these instructions like bow and namaste. Namaste is what we say at the beginning and end of a yoga class, but the word is a Sanskrit, which is the old Indian language for I honor the divine in you. So it's like namaste. And then there were instructions, stroke her hair, do whatever, but always with consent. And it was like stroking my hair. I don't know about you ladies, but I freaking love having my hair stroked. Okay.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden somebody's telling him to do this to me. I'm like, purr. And so then it was like, say thank you to this partner and step to your right. And then there were new instructions with somebody I'd never seen before in my life. Bob was one thing, but now it was like a handsome guy. Who's he? We went around the circle of 12 or 14 people.
I want this class.
Well, there's a lot of them out there. I teach them myself. But anyway, by about the third or fourth station, as they called it, this time they knew we were tired from standing up. And mind you, we were fully clothed, no shoes. But other than that, fully clothed, this was not sexual. They said, men, why don't you sit down? Women, crawl into this man's lap. I was like, you've got to be freaking kidding me. It was like, what? It was so intimate. And I'm 5'6". I'm not a large person, but it's not like lap time wasn't a thing in my life, really, other than when I was a little girl and my very cool parents, whatever. But so now I'm in this guy's lap and I lost it. I lost it. It was a combination of joy and grief. Joy at the intimacy I hadn't known, and grief at what I hadn't known, and joy at what might be possible. So I dove in and became a little marketing and salesperson for this group. And that led me onto a quest since even up till now, where I study with all of the relationship teachers I can find, take courses, tantra, intimacy, Morehouse, all kinds of courses, and David Data, and reading and seminars and retreats and immersions. And I've just been studying for years. And so what I've done is I've coalesced all of this into my own body of work. I'm not original. My superpower is being able to say, ooh, Christine, right at this moment, this would be a good piece for you. This would be a perfect quote or book to read or link to look at or something to try. And so I've been, oops, did we just lose?
Oh, she froze, so she'll be right back. But I'm listening. Continue, please.
Thank you, Gabby. So anyway, so what I'm doing now is I lead, back in 2001, my former husband and I back in 2001, we lived in a beautiful home in Sonoma County. And I thought when I bought that house, I can do women's retreats here. I can do that. Mind you, I was already doing wardrobe and style consulting. So I was already doing makeovers for people to feel their best and look their best. And I was good at clothes, but it wasn't about the clothes. It was about the congruency, meaning somebody would the kids grew up and they're used to wearing overalls and being mommy. And all of a sudden it's like, well, and married. Whoa, how am I going to get my sexy back? And so I'd help them dress to look a new part, or dress to look the promotion to CEO, or dress to give a presentation to President Bill Clinton in the White House. I actually dressed a client to do something with that. So meaning I could do that, and also dressed, people who are really overweight, and just all kinds of ways to have people feel better about themselves. So
how did you with all this, it sounds like, I'm now curious about this, so learning, getting all this education, how did this become, is this your business now?
Oh, yeah.
How did you get into, turning it into your life's work, your business?
Well, that's what I was about to tell you. I need to give you the background about the image consulting. But in 2001, I had this gorgeous home with my former husband and I were doing great. And I bought the house so I could do women's workshops and not-for-profit events. We were semi-retired. And a friend of mine's daughter had just graduated from Stanford. And she said, you're so easy to talk to about relationship stuff. Can I come over and spend some time with you? I'm like, absolutely. Bring your friends. So we set up a weekend, 3 or 4 weeks in advance. I had the pool and the hot tub. It was a retreat house. So I set up a time and I ended up with 9 young women, just graduates from college, about 22. And they came over on a Friday evening and left on Sunday. And I thought, in preparation for them, what do these young women need to know about relationship? They need to know about men and all the differences between men and women. And they need to know about intimacy and sex and everything, about their bodies and orgasm and how to consent and how to say no and what's pleasurable and all that stuff. And they need to know about money. And money is really, it's lifestyle choices. My joke with the younger women is, when were you planning to tell them you wanted to be a stay-at-home mom and your salary goes away? Maybe before you get married, not after your name's on the deed to the house, dependent upon your 6 figures. So where I'm coming from, it's all about communication. And so Men's Sex and Money was born, and it's transformed these young women's lives. I've had a trademark since 2005. I've defended my trademark with National Public Radio, who now has We have a clause, a coexistence agreement between us, and it's for the Death, Sex, and Money podcast. Mine's Men, Sex, and Money, and that will be my podcast. I've just been a little too lazy. So that's the work I do, and I'm collaborating, and I do workshops and retreats. I just met a woman today. We're going to do something called Men, Sex, Money, and Movement.
I love that.
With women in pole dancing.
Oh, I love that. Hey, Karen, just on a side note, your speaker, can you move it just a tiny bit? Because we might be getting clicking from your clothing or something. Is your speaker close to you?
Is that better?
Yeah, that's what we're
I think it might just be bouncing off your jewelry or something.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It sounded like.
Oh my God, that's a terrible sound. I was hoping that that's why I always use the other mic, but
you're fine.
Oh no, it's totally okay. I mean, I'm very curious about this now. I mean,
I'll just hold it away. I understand. So, okay, great. So where are we? So you asked me how I got into it. I got into it because one of the reasons is I don't have my own daughters. I have stepsons. And I've always been the one from my friends' daughters. I had 6 flower girls. Basically, all the people came over to Hawaii to my wedding who brought their girls. Their girls were in my wedding. But those young women were some of the ones that I taught about sexuality. Because it's harder to talk to your own children. If you're a mom, Christine, it's harder to talk to your own children about these things. It's easier when it's not your own.
Mm-hmm.
So,
mm-hmm. I gotta say though, my first 2 daughters are in their 20s, and when they were teenagers, they didn't want to talk to me at all about it.
Especially not mom. Yeah.
No, but I now have a 15-year-old daughter who's 10 years younger than they are. And she lets me talk to her about it. So it's a completely different generation, which I'm completely shocked that she lets me talk to her.
And you're a completely broken in mom. It could have something to do with it.
It could be that my approach is different. Now, you mentioned something earlier that I really liked that I wanted to touch upon. You had said something about dressing women to feel sexy in whatever way they are. Yeah. I love the idea that if you don't feel sexy and you don't feel sassy, that at least start with your outer appearance. I
love it. I'll take it away if you don't mind. So exactly. It's an inside out job or an outside in. And what I'll say to like younger clients, look, you might be PMS and feel like, you know what, but you're going out tonight anyway, right? You're going to go to that party. Especially if you're lucky enough to have blue eyes or green eyes. And, you know that when you wear blue or those certain blues, people go completely, oh my God, do yourself a favor. Wear something that is tried and true, or get on a FaceTime with me, or get on a FaceTime with one of your girlfriends and say, what should I wear? I feel like, you know what, I'd like to, because you know what? You still might feel like, you know what, by the end of the night. But if you get 100 compliments, oh my God, your eyes, you look so pretty. You still might feel like, you know what, but you have a much better chance of feeling great if you wear something that you know looks good.
Oh, absolutely. It changes your energy. It changes your like the way that you even think, that inner voice. Yeah. If you Christine, I don't know how many times you've told me cause I'll be like, I feel like shit. I've gained weight since I moved to Milwaukee, and she'll be like, you know what? Put on your put on your best outfit, do your hair, put your makeup on, and get out of your apartment. And every time I do, I call her and I just say thank you, because I feel, it just you feel better, Yeah. So I completely agree with that. And you definitely, either whether you Karen or Christine, you have that friend or that person that can push you to do that.
And it's a little bit trite, but you really don't get a second chance to have a good first impression. And it really is, with the world the way it is, I've been studying TikTok and getting ready to be, you ready for this? A grandfluencer. Those are the older folks. That is a thing. Okay.
Yeah.
A grandfluencer. But because I'm not funny by myself, but I'm going to get somebody to do it with me. And at least hold the camera so I can be really funny. But it's like, as I look at TikTok, those are 3, 4, 5 second videos. That's all you get. Swipe, 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 swipe. Same way in dating sites. If somebody doesn't think, that first picture, how many times have I swiped left going, ew, another big dead fish? You've got to be kidding me. It's one thing to go fishing, but don't have your profile picture show you in like a 5-foot long bloody fish.
I live in Wisconsin. They're holding up deer.
Yeah.
I'm from Vermont. I get it.
Yeah.
It's a 5-point buck. Yes, I get it. Come out and look at the top of my truck. Look what I got. I'm like,
Like
Yeah.
there's like blood still spewing out of his neck, but you're holding out. I'm like, you just killed Bambi, and you want me to go on a date with you?
I girlfriend, we're smoking the same stuff.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So tell us about your book, Karen.
Yes.
You mean this?
Yeah. Tell us about that.
Okay.
Pretty lady on the cover.
Wait a minute. How's my head? I cannot
there-
figure
there
out
you
this
go.
backwards
There you
stuff.
go.
Okay. So here's the thing. Just because my marriage was over, I moved down here, and I'm in my mid-60s now. But when I was in my late 50s, I moved to San Diego, and I felt totally sexy, sassy, and I was starting over.
Mhm.
And I realized there was no freaking handbook for it. So I wrote the handbook. That's what this is. It's a little bit, it's memoir. I call it Recipes for a Sweet and Savory Life After Divorce. And the recipes are metaphoric, meaning
Okay.
there are things like, how do you create a community? How do you communicate? And like all of my work is in this itty bitty 106-page book.
I love
Meaning,
that.
but it's not that we ever really learn from a book. So it's good to take courses and get a coach, and then learn the
Sure.
This is like the Reader's Digest version. But I wrote the book, and I'll be honest with you, it's a calling card. It got
Right.
me to coalesce like what I'd learned and the resources that I needed. It's become a calling card.
Yeah.
So
what kind of challenges did you expect, especially relocating,
oh my gosh,
starting over? I mean,
it's
name your
still a
like top 5 challenges.
Truthfully, it's still a challenge because I'm from New England, but I lived in the San Francisco Bay Area for over 30 years.
Okay.
My former husband and I were together almost 20 of those. So we had, extreme amounts of great community. A lot of people who'd done tantra classes together, who we had property together in Mexico. I mean, we did life. I lived in community with our friends. And I mean, we really did life together. And I thought, I'm moving to a hip and cool place in northern San Diego County. And it's going to be so easy to do that again because the people are friendly. I didn't get the memo that most of them were half my age. And I didn't get the memo that, people my age have their people. They have their people. I mean, there's single people, but I was so used to, like, when I go to the Bay Area now, even I've got my stepsons and my stepson and my grandkids are all up there. Tons of friends and family. I don't even call people because I can't see everybody when I go up there, especially during COVID. I couldn't see anybody. My kids wouldn't even let me go see anybody. And I'm like, okay, fine. I won't even tell people I'm here. But when I go up there, I have all kinds of people saying guest room's open for you. But here in San Diego, and a lot of them are couples. And it's so nice to hang out with couples. And so, Gabby, you asked me, one of the hardest things was not having couples to hang out with, the polarity of the men and women. I was just used to that. I don't hang out with couples down here because you meet a woman and she's like, nice to meet you at this networking event or whatever. And then they go home to their world, their family, the people they raise their kids with, their church, whatever. And it's like, wow. So that's been the hardest. That's one of the hardest things. And the other is being single at this age. I just thought, I've got my chops. I teach this stuff. It'll be easy to find someone. Oh, guess what? My bar is really high. If you've read any of Harry Potter or seen the movies, you know what a muggle is. I'm not one. Meaning, and I use that as a metaphor for just doing a heck of a lot of growth work. And I teach this stuff, and I'm not interested in intimidating men, but I want somebody who doesn't have to have done what I've done, but I want somebody who's not just playing golf and having a bunch of beers and having a bunch of money. I mean, I want somebody who really dives deep. So the big fish, the cocktails, the golf game are not pictures that get me.
Right.
They're just not going to get me. It's like, and especially if he doesn't say anything in his profile. I don't care how cute he is. He's not cute to me if he doesn't have anything in common with me.
I agree. So what do you find is your biggest challenges in dating after divorce and later in life?
I'm getting over myself about this, and you've probably heard me because we do a lot of clubhouse rooms together. I love sharing a stage with you. You're so sassy, girlfriend.
I'm pretty sassy.
I am too, but you're like the blonde, blue-tipped sassy, okay? And I'm the back east, mostly brunette. Anyway, I am so not my age, okay? I am not 66, but I am.
Yeah.
But I'm not. Most people, guys who are dating, will stop their search engines at 60 if they're anywhere between 50 and 70. I've done the homework. They stop their search engines because most mid-60s women are nothing like me. They're not sexual. They're not hot. They don't keep themselves beautiful and in great shape. And that would be me. I'm a hell of a skier, all that stuff. And so I finally actually with some of our mutual friends, Barry and Brian, I finally, on the bottom of my Tinder, it says 60 or something in my age. I'll say I'm really mid 60s, but wanted you to find me. Meaning getting over getting over having a little chip on my shoulder that it's actually not a fair world for men and women.
That ageism.
Oh, yeah. It's not fair. I mean, like literally my former husband is in his early 70s in great shape. He can date, and not that he looks for younger women, but he can date women in their 70s, 60s, 50s, 40s, and 30s because it's the way the world goes.
That's the way the world goes.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But I don't want to date late 50s, 10 years younger, maybe. But I'm not interested in 20 years younger. It's like, no, we won't have enough in common. And for me, it's all about what you have in common.
Right?
And so
I agree.
And life skills, So it's so that has been way more challenging. I really thought by now I would be, connected up. And so I'm being really transparent with you. That's been
May I ask you how long you've been single? Or how long you've been divorced?
Well, I've been my husband and I sold the house in 2010. We separated in 2011. I moved down here in 2014 and it happened to be when the divorce was final. Okay. But that was just because we waited a few years because of financial reasons. But it was we were done in 2011. It was coming for a long time. It wasn't a shock. But and I had one year long relationship that I think I hung on with. That was probably the most painful relationship of my life because it was the first and last time I will ever be with a narcissist. It was horrific for me. And I've actually prided myself on getting women away from narcissists. And he really manipulated me and it was stunning. So that was 4 or 5 years ago. And I mean, I say again, if it can happen to me, I have a big compassion for how it can happen. Because I thought, it never happened to me. And then one other relationship last summer that I was like all in and he wasn't ready. He'd had 25 years of back-to-back long-term marriages. And he had just barely divorced or separated and quit his big career to do something else. And I fell for him and he goes, I really want to see other people. And I'm like, I can't, I just fell for you. I can't share that because I know too much about that. It's not me. Can't do it.
No,
not when I feel like that about somebody. And it was pretty gut wrenching, but
timing is so important.
It's Gabby, you're so right. And for me, it was also good to know I have my chops because he was 10 years younger and I liked that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get it. I had a narcissistic relationship. It literally almost destroyed me. It took me years and years to recover from that. And what's funny is our timeline is about the same.
Is it?
Yeah. I divorced in 2011 and I had 2 real serious relationships that were 2 years long in this time. And then I had an on-off for 3 years. And it took me a good 4 or 5 years to really discover that I needed to heal from the narcissism.
Yeah. For me, I knew that he was an expert in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. And what I could tell was because I ran into another woman who'd been with him for 6 months and I'd been with him for a year. She didn't know I'd been with him. And I talked to her and she said, oh my gosh, she goes, I couldn't get him out of my head for a year. And she's, attractive, my age, successful, and I was like, whoa. And I actually found a woman who was also an NLP expert who did some special theta healing stuff and was able to help me cut the cords. And I've never done anything like that before. And it was literally, I felt it leave me. But it was, I've never been like, hypnotized or something. It was awful. So
Yeah. Yep. Well, they can get into your head and into your heart and really have a hold.
They're really smart.
Yeah, they are very, very smart. A narcissist is not a dummy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, healing from that and moving on is, starting over is a challenge. And, I've even said on the show before, I've been to a lot of therapy because I come from a abusive past. And so I've done a lot of therapy and therapy just didn't seem right for me after my divorce. It took anger management. For me, I thought I'm so angry. Everybody's like, you're so angry, Christine. And I realized I was pretty damn angry because my life just went poof. And I thought, maybe I'll try anger management. And it was really great for me. I loved it. At least it wasn't court ordered. I mean, come on.
That's what everyone says. I loved anger management. That's my Christine.
I actually really did.
Well, you know what? It's all a form of therapy and growth,
Yeah.
whether it just depends on who would. I just really encourage all of us to do as much growth as we can. And that can look so many different ways. And what you're saying is you found a way that resonated for you to work on what you needed to work on.
Yeah, for me, it wasn't about talking about it like therapy. In anger management, it made me look at what I was angry at.
Good.
And then let it go. And then gave me tools to actually deal with it, calm myself, and walk away. It was really amazing. I loved it. So that's me. I'm crazy like that.
Now, Karen, I'm really curious. I mean, the book probably took you on a journey. I mean, I could only imagine, like, you know, that how therapeutic that was, even to just kind of throw it out on out of your head into words and onto paper. I don't want to like give away the ending, but like, what were some revelations that you kind of like discovered that you think are just like every woman who is starting over kind of needs to know?
Yeah.
Oh, it's the foundation of my work, and I'll happily share it.
Okay.
And that's
your speaker.
Me?
Yeah.
I'm holding it out.
There you go.
Okay,
there
perfect.
you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the foundation of my work, frankly, is the fact that just because a relationship is over does not mean you are complete with it. Just because it's finished and your ring's off, or even if they died or whatever, you still got a whole bunch of stuff going on. And if you don't address that, whether it's through anger management or just telling the truth about the whole thing. And I happen to have a remarkable process that a friend he's just passed away recently, a guy named Bill Lamond, created something years ago. I took a course and got a lot of great gems from him. And that's all I do is take nuggets from different teachers and put them together. I go, now that is so brilliant. If you find something better than this particular communication modality, great, but this is the best I found. So that's what I do. I curate the work. And I'm kind of like a master contractor or a concierge with my clients. I'm kind of like, you know, this would be a really good course for you. Have you tried this? How about this? But because I don't pretend, I'm not an expert in everything. But what I am an expert in is helping someone realize they're not complete about their past and to get them complete by using my completion process. It's a workbook that I've created. I'm doing that with a woman who just decided to work with me. And it doesn't even mean she's leaving her husband. She's not. But she needs to complete up to the present moment with her husband.
Oh, that's nice. That's good.
Take a look at what's been pleasurable, what's not pleasurable. Because, you know, the kids are not babies anymore. They're 6 and 8 or something like that. So all of a sudden it's a new world. Pandemic happened. Their power has changed in terms of who's making the money and whatever. Things have shifted. Their intimacy isn't what it was. So they need to name everything. We need to bring her to a clean slate, because right now she's got a ball and chain holding her in the way things were. Okay. So It could be the way things work, could be when you're still with the person, or if they're long gone, whatever that looks like. And so that's the first thing to answer your question, Gabby. The second thing is, okay, well, now we've cleared the slate. You've said thank you. You've forgiven. You've acknowledged all the pleasure, and you're moving on. How do you design that new life? You got to get clarity about what you desire. And you need to, and that's in your spiritual life, your physical life, your social life, your body, your teeth, your hair, your image. It's all the different ways, your friendships, your lifestyle, your finances, all of it, right? So you've got to get so clear about that. And then, I mean, Christine, we talk about this all the time in Clubhouse. Yeah. It's like, what are your absolute must-haves? Oh my God, I'm 35, I'm divorced, I want a kid. Then don't go out with someone who doesn't want a kid with you.
Yeah.
Duh. Or don't go out with someone that's just getting a divorce and he's a mess with his ex-wife. Danger, danger. I don't know if any of you saw the original Lost in Space. The original Lost in Space had this robot that would be like looking out for the kid, and he'd go, and do you remember it? It's great.
I do.
And he'd go, danger, danger, Will Robinson, danger, danger, Will Robinson. So I'm like, don't go out with that guy.
Right.
Who says, I don't know if I want kids. Tick, 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 tick. Your body's 35.
I can change him.
Yeah, right. Which fill in the blanks. But for now, I'm just going to say about the kid thing, because it's so black and white, right?
Yeah.
So that's that. And so it's like, get so clear. What are your deal breakers? Get so clear. What are your absolutes? And ad nauseum. You've heard me say this at least 10 times on different stages, Christine, on Clubhouse. It's like, what are your preferences? And an example is an absolute must-have is a baby if you want a baby. So it's a deal breaker if they don't want one. Okay. So the spectrum of must-have and deal breaker is the same spectrum. Want a baby, don't. Want to be with a smoker, non-smoker. Okay, that's the spectrum.
Yeah.
But what if, I don't mind if they smoke a little bit. Okay, then that's a preference. It's in the middle. Okay,
Mhm.
some people are like, no, whatever. I don't mind if they fish, just maybe not the profile picture. Meaning whatever, but the profile, the favorite thing I say, two different ones I use as an example. One is, look, I love to ski. Do I have to be with a man who skis? No, it just makes for a much more fun winter. Okay.
Right.
It means I'll get to the mountains more, but it's not an absolute must have. It's not like I own a ski lodge. It's not like I'm a racer.
Right.
You know, it's a preference. So like that.
Like
So
if my man likes to snowboard or ski, I'll be at the bar down at the bottom. You let me know when you're done. You have a great time.
If that's fine. Exactly my point. Exactly.
Mhm.
However, if you find out that he wants to snowboard and ski and go with his friends hella skiing like 5 times a year, you got to take a deep look at what that means. That's all. If somebody like I don't really want to be with a man who's a major golfer.
Right.
I don't want to be with a man who gets up at 5 or 6 in the morning to go golfing with his buddies and comes home at noon every freaking Saturday and Sunday. I'm not signing up. So that would be not just a preference, it's a must-have.
Agreed.
You see, so you get the difference. And also,
Yeah.
I have a thing about height. Look, I'm fairly flexible, but I'd prefer somebody be, between like 5'9", 5'10", and 6'4". Sweet spot for me is 5'11" to 6'2". Then I can wear any shoes I want at 5'6".
And you're I was about to say you're 5'6", so that makes total sense.
So I'm just saying it's not a preference is not cast in concrete. Okay. Yeah. But we have to get clear.
And you have to be honest with yourself, right? I mean, and realistic, I think,
Mm-hmm. And the other thing is do your work. Do what it takes because, you met that former partner 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 days ago, whatever. And you were this version of yourself and you met that person who's going to meet you in that version.
Yeah.
And now let's say you got sober, or let's say you took 15 personal development classes. You just buckled yourself into a space shuttle ride and took yourself to a much bigger, more expansive planet. So you're going to take one look at that person who's just going drinking a couple of beers and kicking back. But if they haven't done any growth, you might be looking at them going, I just grew out of them.
Yeah. You know what I think is a lot of problems these days is that women are really growing. And we are getting self-help, and we are really looking into dating coaches, and we're really, moving. Mm-hmm. And we're finding, at least on myself, this is my personal opinion, that these men are not. And I
want you to be careful about complete generalizations. I do think
most of the men
the men you've been meeting, I do think there's a preponderance of awake, fabulous women. Yeah. And that was what Gabby had said, what was one of the surprises or whatever, and I completely, I agree with you. There's a preponderance, but I might jump off a bridge if I think that it's all.
Oh God, right?
Well, I have to take a step back and sometimes just take a break from dating just because I need a new mindset, because I feel like in my own personal life, we are needing the ones to be changing constantly. And where's that growth with someone else? I'd like to find someone who is also had growth or is growing as well. And
not even a question. You require that. See, I have to look at what is a requirement, and that gets back to the must-haves.
Yeah.
And so I would love to have a private talk with you, girlfriend, because there's a way to put that in even a profile on Tinder. I just had a guy that I'm talking to right now from another state said to me, wow, that was quite a profile. It's one paragraph. It took me a long time to craft it, but it's one paragraph, but I said exactly what I'm looking for. Yeah. And I made sure I touched the deal breakers and the must-haves. I made sure I did that. And he was like, wow, it felt like you were speaking to me. Good. I don't want the other people that aren't feeling like they're speaking to me to correspond with me. I don't want to waste their time or mine. I don't want to get to a dinner and find they put down 5 bourbons. I don't want to find that out because that's a deal breaker for me. I want to find out before that. How much do you drink? I'm curious.
Yeah, my last date drank 2.5 bottles of champagne and a bottle and a half of wine, and he was
right. And so my
really,
question would be, if you were my client, which you're not, but if you were my client, I would say, great research.
Yeah. Well, he never showed it. It was my third date. And
wow.
He never showed it. He never drank on any of our other dates.
So
that night, he just went all out. So whatever, it's fine. We live and learn.
I mean, with what Christine said, I mean, absolutely generalizations are not, probably, the best things to make. But, as someone, I'm in my mid to late 30s, I find that, my female friends are more aware and inclined to seek those relationship coaches, those dating coaches, versus my male friends who are single, who have that, not necessarily that kind of, I don't need help, or, seeking help, it shows like a sign of weakness in some way. I know what I'm doing. I know, I do have my male friends where I told them there's relationship coaches. They don't want to spend the money. And I've personally have spent money on a relationship coach. Adele Kelleher, who was a guest on our show, I hired her and she was phenomenal. And we've had some phenomenal coaches on this that we try to enlighten our listeners. But men that I've encountered in Milwaukee, and I can say a majority of them, not saying all of them, have not invested in that growth.
Yeah, of course. I think that's the truth absolutely everywhere. That's why places like where I am is going to have more men who've done some self-exploration, because there are vortices, however you say that. There's places like Berkeley, like San Francisco, like Boston, there are Cambridge, Massachusetts. There are places that are going to have a more awake, a lot of college towns. They're going to have a lot more of an awake group of people.
And do you find that there's age groups, I'm sorry to cut you off, that are more inclined to, that you've seen, that have reached out to you for your services? That
Well, I'm getting really into your age group right now, actually early 40s. I have a new client coming on who's in early 40s, and she's bringing me, we're going to be doing, and I'm looking at my legacy now at my age, and I really want to bring the men's sex and money work is really fantastic. Okay. And I want to bring that to young women, because I've had the privilege of studying with so many teachers. And what I know is, if you learn about your bodies, if you learn about intimacy, if you learn communication, and you learn how to do consent, and you learn how to say no kindly, and you learn how to appreciate people, and how to come from a place where you can really be that unbelievable queen to a king, because you've learned how to hold that grace. And if you've learned how to talk about money, and you've learned how to get so clear about your desires and all of that, and you've released any past sexual abuse and stuff like that. I mean, if you do that work, it's just going to tune you up. And so, I mean, that's what I'm teaching now, particularly with younger women. And so I want to be working with 20 and 30 somethings very much. Phenomenal. Because, well, they want to learn more. They're going, whoa, we have our whole lives ahead of us. And a lot of the women much older are going, yeah, well, that doesn't work. I'm like, look, I'm not interested in cramming information down your throat. There's a reason you're single, and there's a reason you're miserable. And I say, how's it working for you?
Right. Yeah.
How's it go? Exactly.
Well, Karen, let's see, can you tell us again the best way people can find you so that they can hire you and get you to help them move forward in their life? There we go. Thank you, Jason. So Karen is really great on Clubhouse as well. You need to check her out on there. Yeah, I mean, really, the best way to get to me is go to KarenSolomon.com. And it's all O's in the last name. That's how to remember. All O's. I'm sure I'm a direct descendant of the king. And I'm sure. So queen.
And so, yeah, so that's the best way to get me. And that's where you can get to my book. You can also get on my calendar there. I always give at least a 20-minute conversation to explore the possibility of working together. And there's all kinds of goodies. If you're in a partnership, you can just get on my mailing list. I have a couple of opt-ins. One of them is how to juice up your relationship. Another one is dating tips. So all of that is on my landing page. And I think that's the easiest way to get to me. And yes, I'm on social media under Karen Solomon. I'm Karen Solomon Official somewhere. You can find me. But
I love it.
But if you go to my thing, you'll find everything. All my social media links should be on that KarenSolomon.com.
That's fantastic.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here with us today, Karen.
Great to be with you guys.
You're so fun. And we'll have to book you to come back again and talk about some more dating tips and things like that you were talking about.
I have plenty of those. Oh, I'll talk about sex any day.
Sex. We love talking about sex.
Oh, feel better, Christine. Feel better, honey.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank
All right,
you
take
so
care,
much.
girl.
Bye.
All right, see you
Thanks,
soon.
Karen.
So, Karen's great. She said something earlier, Gabby, that I could not wait to tell you about. So Karen had to leave us, and we're going to finish out the show chit-chatting a little. Karen, did you hear her say that she did a Thelma and Louise trip across the U.S.?
Yeah.
Do you know what popped up on my Facebook today?
Brad Pitt.
I wish. I wish he'd pop up anywhere in my face, anywhere. No, on my Facebook, it was our last day of our epic Thelma and Louise trip, moving you to Milwaukee 5 years ago.
Yeah, that's right. I arrived in Milwaukee we left 5 days ago. Exactly. It was epic. It was amazing.
That was a fun trip.
That was amazing. Glamping.
Yeah. Gabby, listeners, she is afraid of heights, and I made her zip line. That was the best. It was a kiddie zip line, but it was a zip line. It was
a grown-up zip line, and I think I peed myself. I wasn't sure. And I think that I had like the highest octave, and I might have cursed you out a couple of times as I was going down there.
You might have, but I knew that you were cursing me out with love.
It's all about love, babe. Yeah, I only did it once. She did it a few times. And then we went ATVing there too. So that was fun.
That was in Zion's National Park. It was awesome.
Where I got a ticket in Utah. Yeah. 4 a.m. Good times.
So another thing really quick that popped up on my Facebook for a year ago, I got this text from this guy that I had gone out with for like a half an hour. It was a half an hour day. It was the weirdest thing. And we were texting for a couple of days. And he texts me and says, "Hey girl, I get the feeling you're not that much into me. It's okay. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I just like the truth. So I know what's up." I said, "Why are you asking me this? You know, I've been super busy, and I'm with my daughter at the moment. And I asked you to go with us on this thing tonight. Not my daughter and I, but me and somebody else." I said, "Now you're asking if I'm into you or not. It's a little early to ask that, isn't it?" And then he's like, "Oh, you're absolutely right." I said, "Also, it's after midnight. And I've been telling you for days I'm exhausted and not feeling well. I'm confused. Why are you tripping right now?" He says, I just said you're right. And I'm drinking. And so I'm sorry to bother you if I'm tripping. I said, "Stop drinking alone."
I was literally just about to say that.
Yeah, it's funny. So hey folks, time seems to fly when we're having fun.
Oh my God,
so glad to have Gabby back. But you should find me on Instagram. It's 50 Shades of _bullshit. And don't forget, I've been talking about the show that I'm casting, Relocate for Love. And if you go to 50 Shades of Bullshit at gmail.com with the SHYT, then you can apply for Relocate for Love. It's going to be a dating show that we're going to be doing. And you can also find me on TikTok. I try to do funny videos, and it's Christine Lalonde Official. So you can find me on TikTok on Christine Lalonde Official. But give Gabby and I an email and tell us about your dating stories and what life is like for you in the dating world, because we'd love to have you on the show, or we could read your story.
Yes.
But Gabby, are you seeing your guy this weekend?
I am.
Okay. And you planned the date this time, right?
I did. So I put it out there that every other weekend, the other person will plan a date, because we got very comfortable just being
Really
with
quick.
each other and hanging out. So we still need to like do things together.
Nice.
So I've planned a really fun date.
Nice. So you'll have to come back next week and tell us about it.
100%.
I love it. Well, everybody, it's the end of the show. Thank you for being here today. And it's the same time, same place next week. And until then, keep it real.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share with your friends, like and follow us on Instagram at 50 Shades of _bullshit and Facebook at 50 Shades of Bullshit. Thanks so much for listening, and we really hope to see you again next week.